what's up you guys, this is Rob from A Gay Guy Plays, and today we are back with another installment of Rob Reads You Shit you are probably not gonna read yourself. And I'm gonna be completely honest with you, this one is an absolute shocker. I got a ping with this morning, and I was like, wait, what's going on? They're like, keep an eye out for the developer workshop. I'm like, oh no, you cannot leave me with this kind of cliffhanger. So now it has finally arrived, and I figured I would go ahead and read it out loud for you. So if you got some dishes to do, if you're working on an assignment, or if you just want to play Warframe without having to read these patch notes, I got you. Well, it's not patch notes, it's a developer workshop. But I do want to point out one thing real quick for you guys. They are having a primetime pre-show tonight, about 30 minutes before primetime normally starts. So that is 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you want to tune in and see some of these changes live, make sure you guys jump onto the Warframe Twitch channel or the Warframe YouTube channel. Either one of those, you'll be able to see what's going on. I know that I'm definitely going to be watching. Now, D.E. Danielle posts, hello fellow Saryn enthusiasts, wow I cannot talk, and all potential to be enthusiasts. It is with great excitement I come to you today with this dev workshop covering Saryn's 2018 rework. The first section of this workshop will cover the intent of these changes, while the second will provide a more detailed look into the ability changes themselves. Please keep in mind that everything you read in this dev workshop is subject to change from the posting time right up to the day/time it launches and beyond. We also understand that providing feedback on something you haven't had a chance to play, I'm pointing that out because a lot of y'all just want to start talking. A lot of people were giving feedback on Korra, didn't even own Korra. I'm looking at you nasty right now, and I am judging, just to let you know. Or experiment with me can provide to be difficult. We do appreciate and welcome constructive feedback and suggestions with the information provided below. However, if you would like to see Saryn's changes in action, we will be live streaming a special primetime pre-show with Rebecca, Pablo, and more this Thursday, May 10th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3:30 p.m. Pacific. Just keeping an eye out for you. The intent of 2.0. Known as the queen of viral and toxin damage, Saryn has comfortably sat in her role as damage caster and nucleus for infectious spreading, latching, and leeching onto those who cross her path. When approaching her rework, we wanted to maintain this status while also increasing the level of fun and variety of play. Back in late 2015, we launched the first Saryn Revisited update, 1710, where she received an ability overhaul and focused primarily on ability synergy. On the heels of a bulk of Warframe changes released earlier this year, we felt it was time that we address Saryn's current state. The following bullet points are cornerstones to her 2.0 form and list what we intend to tackle from over 2 years worth of observations since her first revision. Tackling perplexing synergies. Perplexing indeed. We feel Saryn's synergy as it stands follows more of a forced than natural flow. We often found players confused as to why some things worked as they did, which led to a guessing game of bug or feature. A new player having just acquired Saryn might not be fully aware of Spores' interactions between Molt, Toxic Lash, and Miasma, and as an added layer, the interactions of those abilities with each other. Essentially, you were given all of the ingredients to mix up a cocktail without really knowing if the ingredients are meant to mix in the first place. In 2.0, we aim to taking the guessing out of this, what does this do to make X happen, and ultimately make her more sensible and intuitive to play. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. This feels, and I need you guys to not feel like this is an attack, because it's going to sound like an attack. But this feels like DE dumbing things down for newer players yet again. But this isn't necessarily dumbing down in a bad way, because if you kind of think about it, a lot of us players that have grown up with Saryn have seen her progression, have seen what she can do over time, and we've learned when the launch came out. Right? So we're like, okay, if you do this plus this, these two status effects are gonna pump up Miasma, X, Y, and Z. You can do that via using these two combinations, and we all kind of knew that because that's what happened at launch. DE has this kind of like dev stream culture where we all listen into the dev stream, we listen into what the cool stuff is, we listen to the patch notes, and well, we look at the patch notes, or maybe in this case you do listen to the notes, And we kind of learn via that. However, a lot of newer players haven't had this experience. And let's be real, these days, a lot of newer players are legit just copying builds off of YouTube or off of a streamer or whatever, and they put it into play in game, but they never listen to how the mechanics work. They're just like, well, this is the build. It must work this way, right? And then when they don't get the same results as the person on YouTube or the person who's streaming, they're like, I don't get what's happening here. And, you know, especially if that content creator isn't necessarily guiding them through the process of why it works, they're going to end up failing. And, I mean, that's a great thing about a veteran being able to help out some of the newer players, but DE does have to take some of the ownership for themselves and say, okay, we need to maybe incorporate this into the UI, or we need to make sure that somewhere in game it's very, very obvious that you do X, Y, and Z to get this all together instead of relying on outside sources to do that. So it's great. We'll see how this goes. Tackling underused abilities. There is definitely something very satisfying about seeing damage numbers confetti off in the distance as your spores chew through enemies or chunk through health with Miasma. But what of Toxic, Lash, and Molt? We read your feedback and agree they don't meet the standards of her other abilities. A melee only ability on a non-melee focused Warframe felt misplaced, and a decoy that doesn't scale simply can't hold up against high level enemies. Thank you! Thank you. This is something I've been waiting for it on Loki, I've been waiting for it on Saryn, because regenerating Molt, for those of you guys who don't know, allows you to regenerate regenerate any lost health. However, if that Molt dies early, that regeneration is gone. So as you go up into higher levels and you're really crossing your fingers for a little bit of health from your regenerating Molt, what ends up happening is that thing dies. Sure, you get the talking proc, but you don't get any of the health back from it. So that's definitely a nice thing. It sounds like they're gonna make some scaling going on. So we took a closer look to see how they could play a bigger part overall. Okay, it sounds like they're weighting them a little bit more. What came of this is Toxic Lash working on all weapons with an added bonus for melee. Okay, all right. So because here's the thing. I'm not worried about Toxic Lash, aka Contagion, for all of my vets out there, because I like to use a lot of ranged Zaws. So the longer range Zaws out there popping spores left, right, and center and getting energy back. But hey, you know what? If I don't necessarily need to change it up, sometimes that might be a little bit nicer. So let's see. While Molt saw improved scaling and added speed escape bonus on cast, okay. Further details on the changes are listed on the ability changes section. Alright, okay, so it sounds like we're getting a little bit of both. Tackling the Spores turret. Oh, this is a thing. Shedding Molt and decorating it with spores is a fairly commonplace Saryn gameplay. We noticed this quick 1-2 step tends to result in a set it and forget it way of playing. We want players to feel more involved in Saryn's poisonous grip over the enemy while giving Spores and Molt more utility on their own. Okay, we're gonna talk about this. The first step was removing the synergy to cast Spores on Molt. Distancing the two abilities gave us the start we needed to give them their very own unique self-sufficient design. Now they perform independently of one another, giving Saryn more options in combat. Details are listed below. Okay, I know exactly where this came from. The combo was too powerful. The combo was way too fucking powerful because we would pop our spores on there and it would spread everywhere. Alright? Because that's the thing don't lie, that's the thing we did. Okay? And it was way too fucking powerful and DE had to dial it back. It's very similar to low effort, high payout, kind of like old Meg's Polarize. Like, that was like an instant click, everything died. Alright? Spores on Molt. You detonate the spores on the Molt, everything spreads, everything dies. It's too low in effort to get as much payout as it got. This is a trend that DE has always been doing. That's the veteran senses tingling. That's the veteran senses telling you, we've seen this before. So it's just like when Mesa had her Peacemaker, right? And it was just like, hold down the button and she would kill everything in the radius. Very, very low effort, but very high efficiency. So let's take a look at how this goes, okay? Ability changes. Now for the nitty gritty, the following details Saryn's abilities in her 2.0 revisited form. General changes. Saryn's armor increases from 175 to 225. Okay! Yes. Increase Saryn Prime's armor from 225 to 300. All right, I am happy. All right, let's get to the juicy bits, the spory bits. Spores now have infinite duration and escalating damage. What does that exactly mean? What? Ugh. Ugh. Okay, let's continue. Spore duration is determined by the enemies affected. As long as enemies are dying to spores, they will spread. As an added bonus, the longer your spores deal damage, the more your damage output will grow. What? Spores change from viral to... Okay. Okay. We'll see. Okay, wait, hold on. We really want to emphasize that this is experimental. With Spores, we are trying a couple new things we've never done before, so we've entered new territory that is both exciting and a little scary. Infinite duration and infinite escalating damage. Both of these have had interesting and fun results under normal playtests and conditions, but we are still testing and looking for edge situations that might require us to go back to the drawing board. Okay, you brought me back down to earth. We got really, really high, really fast, but now we're seeing reality. So Spores change from viral to corrosive damage. That kind of hurts my heart a little bit, which repurchases it as a great tool to strip armor from enemies. We'll see how I feel. Increased status chance from 10 to 50%, also scaling with power strength. Breathe. When an enemy affected by Spores dies, they spread to surrounding enemies. This makes it much easier to keep Spores activated. Per note, we are particularly apprehensive about Spores behaving in this way since we've paired it with an already experimental mechanic. It is the most likely portion of the rework to be highly reconsidered before launch. Recasting Spores will detonate all active Spores and deal 2 times the damage on an infected enemy based on the number of active Spores on their current damage per tick. Okay. So I'm looking at this as like Spores has one cast. Like you cast it once and then you could recast it to detonate it. So this isn't like Spores here, keep them popping, boys. You know, I think it's one of those things where it's just one. All right. Let's see. A meter showing the damage per tick and the number of affected enemies will be available in the UI to keep tabs on Saryn's active Spores. Interesting. Okay. Venom dose augment change. Spores cast on allies temporarily grant them additional corrosive. Was viral damage to all attacks. I'm still don't know how I feel about the viral / corrosive change. We'll see. Spores optimization. Under certain circumstances, Spores has been known to cause frame rate issues in its current state. With the spreading nature of Spores in the rework, we've decreased the CPU burden, which has made a noticeable change to the ability's overall performance while active. There's still room for improvement, but we're fairly happy about the results so far. Okay. So the one note that I have to say about this sounds like it actually has a lot of good potential to strip out chunks of armor. If you got corrosive going on for, you know, a potentially infinite, you know, long duration period of time, you could just go ahead and take viral on your melee weapons and your other stuff to be able to go ahead, pop Spores, and attack enemies with their armor down. So that's definitely a nice thing. You don't necessarily have to worry about having corrosive projection on. Again, this is me theory crafting, because in a lot of Onslaught missions that I've been on, legitimately, I'm like, is everybody using corrosive projection? Can I bring viral? So that's just where my brain currently is. Molt. Molt has classically been a great tool of deception and distraction, especially when in a bind and need a quick escape to reposition. We wanted to retain this utility but improve on it so that it offered more reliable and robust options. After casting, Saryn receives a momentary speed boost. A momentary? Do they mean momentary? It says movementary, right? It does. Speed boost for a short duration. Molt will now scale similar to Rhino's Iron Skin. All the initial damage it takes in the first few seconds will make it stronger. Any damage it receives after that point will target the absorbed health. Damage absorbed will show in a buff indicator in the UI. Once it reaches 0, Saryn's Molt explodes, dealing toxin damage to nearby enemies. Improved FX changes to make her Molt cast more pronounced. Her regenerative Molt augment remains the same. Saryn regenerates health over a span of time casting Molt. After casting Molt, okay. Toxic Lash. You've told us that having Toxic Lash limited to melee was too restrictive and simply not compatible with a broader variety of playstyles. So we're sharing its toxin with your arsenal of toxic... So we're sharing its toxin with the lot of your arsenal. Toxic Lash's toxin damage buff in Saryn's Revisit is now granted to any weapon in your loadout, primary, secondary, and melee. It's maintaining its roots to the damage buff on melee weapons is doubled. With Toxic Lash active, your weapons will trigger Toxin status effect on any damage instance. Increased duration from 30 to 45 seconds, nice. We've maintained Toxic Lash's abilities to spread spores to nearby enemies by dealing damage while active. With the new spreading natures of Spores, survivability of Molt, and the increased duration of Toxic Lash and Miasma, I knew this was coming. Saryn is no longer as energy hungry as she used to be, so we've removed the 2 energy restore on Spores burst by Toxic Lash. Damn, I love that. That was one of my favorite things. But you know what? Let's see how it goes once we play it. Contagion Cloud Augment Change. Kills with Toxic Lash will leave behind a Toxin Cloud as an added bonus. Melee kills double the damage dealt by the cloud. Okay, so basically they're giving you, they're weighting it more towards melee, but if you just want to spread the toxin, you can go and do that with any of your weapons. Alright, so we get to the big hunker here. We've got Miasma. We've taken what's great about Miasma and made it even better in the scope of Saryn's 2.0 changes. Changed Miasma's damage type from corrosive to viral. Okay. You might have me. This might be it. Okay, this might be a thing. We've swapped Miasma and Spores damage types with another since Spores in its 2.0 form allows for more than 1 proc per second. Miasma has a 100% guaranteed viral status effect on... Yes! Increased damage from 350 to 500. Increased duration from 3 to 5 seconds. Miasma inflicts double damage on targets affected by Spores. When recasting on the same enemy, it will refresh the tick duration and maintain the viral status effect, but will not stun enemies a second time. Okay, I got it. I need to control myself. Saryn Audio Rework is an added bonus. Saryn is also coming along with a whole new set of sounds. This is what Jeff Harding, sound designer, had to say about the changes Saryn made to Saryn's audio. We're giving Saryn a voice. When she casts, voiced by D.E. Danielle. Yes, honey! Yes! Which will add another character in game and make her feel more connected to the abilities as you cast them. We really amped up the poison aspects of her sounds so she feels more deadly in combat. In addition, we've mastered all of her sounds to have increased clarity and focus. You can expect Saryn Revisited 2.0 to launch on PC in a near future update. P.S. We're still looking at the rest of your arsenal. Woo! Did not expect this to be a thing, but I am very excited to see how this all plays out. I am super duper excited. I will definitely be watching later in this afternoon. I'll probably be getting clips from that and maybe posting up a follow-up video to see the efficacy of it live and maybe even make like a more condensed version of this. Who knows? Regardless, leave all of your feelings down in the comments below. I'm sure you guys have some. I'm sure you guys have some fucking feelings because I am emotional right now. But that about does it for me for now. So as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch your body. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.